everybody. Welcome to Red Bank Council meeting. It is November 9th. Could everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Zubrich?
here.
Councilwoman Morgan?
Here.
Councilwoman Schwabenbauer?
Here.
Councilman Taylor? Councilman Whalen?
Here.
Council President Burnham?
Here. Mayor, we're not having anything on workshop. Oh, sunshine, thank you.
Let the minutes reflect that in compliance with Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, Open Public Meetings Act, the notice of this meeting has been provided by notifying the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, and the Star Ledger, and placing a notice on the bulletin board and filing the same with the Borough Clerk on January 2nd, 2016.
Okay, we're going to have a suspended regular order of business. Could I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And we have presentation by Monmouth Boat Club. Come on up.
Take the microphone. Maybe it should be on.
Here, this push on the bottom. This one's on. Here it is. Keep your mouth.
So we have every year since we got tax exempt, which was in roughly 1995, we have donated $5,000 to the town as good neighbors for, used to be for garbage collection, but in general for just the stuff you guys take care of for us. And I'd like to present this
Thank
to
you.
you. And it's a great little town, and we'd like to do our part to keep it that way. So we appreciate all you do for us.
Can I get your name?
Patrick Core, Commodore.
Thank you, Pat.
Welcome. Thank you.
And Commodore, I just wanted to thank you for your annual pilot to the...
It's not a pilot.
It's your annual donation to the borough. It's always, you know, I grew up sailing, spent a lot of time in Commodore as a kid. So we are very grateful for the fact that you guys maintain the historic integrity. There at the Monmouth Boat Club, there's an awful lot of history, and we are very, very lucky and fortunate to have you guys as neighbors and participants of the riverfront activities here in the borough right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All righty. Motion to resume?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of minutes. Motion? Oh, there aren't. Okay. Reports of mayor and council members.
All right.
Linda?
I don't have a report from finance, but since Mark is in Thailand on his honeymoon, I am honored to give a report for Parks and Rec. So just a few for Parks and Rec. The Veterans Day observance will be this Friday, November 11th, at the monument at 51 Monmouth Street, starting at 11 o'clock. The Elks Lodge has been secured as a backup in case of rain. Lieutenant DeSimone of the U.S. Army will be our keynote speaker. And we're very excited to have local schools, churches, and community organizations involved. So I think it should be a good event. Parks and Rec will be organizing a winter clothing drive. Any sweatshirts, jackets, hats, etc. can be dropped off at the Parks and Rec office. Adult basketball is being played at the middle school on Tuesday nights at 7:30. Just show up and play. The West Side tree lighting will be Saturday, December 3rd at 5 p.m. at Johnny Jazz Park. That's all I got. Thank you.
Mike?
Thanks, Cindy. No report, but on behalf of Mark, Linda, and myself, I want to congratulate Councilor Morgan. It's been a pleasure the last 9 months working with you. On the foreseeable future, and congratulations to Councilman-elect Eric Gangstrom. before to have me up here in 2 months or so, whatever it is, January. But we all whatever we decide. We all have one goal in mind, which is for Red Bank, mine always grand. I get there, but we all have the same goal, so I look forward to continue working with you, Kathy.
Okay, I have no report, so Kathy?
Well, I just want to say, yes, there was an election yesterday, in case anyone noticed. There was some highlights, good things, bad things, depends upon who you wanted to win. But Eric and I are very thankful to everyone who did come out and volunteered. We couldn't have done it alone, and we're looking forward also. We're looking forward also to continuing to work with all of the council members here. And I think, we have a lot of work to do, but I think we'll collaborate and we'll get done what needs to get done. So, and we're all here for Red Bank. That's really our main purpose in running. So thank you, Red Bank.
Okay, thank you, Kathy. Mr. Zipridge.
Thank you, Madam President. I too wanted to congratulate Councilwoman Horgan, Councilman-elect Klingstrom on all of their hard work. It was a good night for the borough of Red Bank, and I really think that we will continue to work in a collaborative way to make sure that we move the borough in the right direction. I also wanted to thank you, Council President, for stopping in and wishing us well last night. It was very gracious of you. And,
Well, I'm happy.
And we wish you well. Coming in.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you will be at all of our council meetings.
As usual, yeah, can't stop me. Okay, communications and petitions. We have a request from St. Thomas Episcopal Church to hold a festival of Guadalupe on Monday, December 12, 2016, from 9 to 5 p.m. and to close Sunset Ave from 24 East Sunset Ave to the intersection of East Sunset and Bridge Ave.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Request from Red Bank Parks and Recreation to hold. Right here. Request of St. Anthony's of Padua to hold a procession for Our Lady of Guadalupe on December and Monday, December 12, 2016 at 7 p.m. Procession to travel from Dr. James Parker Boulevard and Shrewsbury Avenue to St. Anthony's Parish Center on Bridge Ave, subject to review by Red Bank Police Department and Traffic Division.
So moved. Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Great. Request from Red Bank Parks and Rec to hold West Side tree lighting in Ralph Johnny Jazz Park, Gatta Park, Saturday, December 3rd, 2016 at 4 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Request from Sickles Market to open a seasonal market for Christmas tree and wreath sales from November 25th through December 24th, 2016, conditioned upon further review of final plan by Special Events Committee.
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Public comment, ordinances on for first reading and resolutions only. We have nothing on for first reading, so does anyone from the public have anything to say in regards to the resolutions? No? Okay, seeing that there is no one from the public, motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so then, resolutions. Can we do these by consent, or?
Yes, if you do by consent, you just read the titles, then we'll have one vote.
Okay, so we'll do them by consent. A resolution authorizing person-to-person transfer of plenary retail distribution license number 134044028-003. A resolution authorizing the release of a site improvement performance guarantee posted by Riverview Medical Hospital for Block 9, Lots 33 and 35, Block 10, Lot 14.01, and Block 11, Lots 1, 1.01 and 2. 16284, a resolution authorizing the release of a performance guarantee posted by Terra Fund III LLC for Block 75.03, lots 48.01 and 53. Resolution 16-285, a resolution authorizing the Borough of Red Bank to enter into a cooperative pricing agreement, Education Service Center, Region 20, PACE Purchasing Cooperative. 16-286, a resolution authorizing tax appeal settlement regarding Dan Liu Properties, LLC, 3 Broad Street, Block 28, Lot 14.01, Red Bank, New Jersey. Resolution 16-287, a resolution authorizing tax appeal settlement regarding DLMW Partners, LLC, 8-10 West Front Street, Block 9.01, Lot 5.01, Red Bank, New Jersey. Resolution 16-288, a resolution requesting approval of special item of revenue and appropriation according to NJSA 40A:4-87, drunk driving enforcement in the amount of $7,142.40. Resolution 16-289, a resolution authorizing transfer of 2016 budget appropriations. Resolution 16-290, a resolution authorizing contracts with certain approved state contract vendors for contracting units pursuant to NJSA 40A:11-12A, Fire Department equipment. Resolution 16-291, a resolution authorizing disposal of surplus property. Can I have a motion?
Second.
Second, roll call? Is that a roll call? Okay. Oh, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Proclamations. Do we have anything here? Okay. Payment of vouchers, I don't have that number. $2,073,305.33.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any old business? No? Okay. Any new business?
We'll just congratulate Councilman Taylor on his nuptials. And his excellent.
Okay.
I'm sure you had a lovely day.
Yes.
That's long, thanks, Dave.
Okay. Audience. Anyone from the audience like to speak? Is that you, Carl?
I just have a question, I can do it from here. Where's that Sickles thing gonna be?
Anderson's moving property between Shrewsbury Avenue and Zone.
They're gonna have it inside there?
No, outside.
Outside.
Outside? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else from the audience? No? We're at the end, so anybody that wants to speak about anything in the audience? Mr. Myers.
William Meyer, 12 Monmouth Street.
Oh, Bill, I don't know if that's working. There.
No, that was me. This one works.
What's the thing with the button, the foil?
No.
Press the
Here,
button.
Jamie, this one works.
Well,
Oh, there you go.
I attended the planning board meeting this week, and I remember Mayor Mena indicating that at some point in time we'd be able to go over there and discuss all our concerns, et cetera, at the planning board regarding this plan, and a lot of people came up, and I was one of them that said, you know, we've been left out of this whole discussion about where this parking garage will be and what it's going to be about, and how it's going to be structured, and all these details. And lo and behold, we go over there, and the only real issue that was on the table was whether or not this plan that we got late, as far as I'm concerned, was in conformance or in conformity with the master plan, which basically shut us down from any of the real input as to what this plan was going to be from the beginning. I have to tell you that I am very offended at the way the town, the people of the town have been left out of this whole process. I'm concerned about the preliminary aspect that an open lot, parking lot that we own and have been utilizing for years, Am I interrupting you, Mr. Whalen?
I was asking a question so I can answer what you were talking about, the way you know in the public hearing is.
Okay, if you don't mind, let me finish and then I'd entertain anything you want, and then you can ask her, or if you want to ask her and I'll stop for a minute so you can get whatever you need.
Yeah, I was there one day, so sorry.
My concern in the very beginning is this is a borough lot we own. We can do pretty much anything we wanted to do with it and with public input. Why we are going through a redevelopment and designate this an area that's in need of redevelopment, kind of, I miss that. I don't see where it's applicable. I haven't read the statute in a while, but when I read the statute, I didn't see it fitting into any of the categories in that statute. I didn't deem it to be appropriate. And frankly, I think this whole thing should start from the beginning, because what I see over there happening is that this is a project for a developer to come in and develop this massively, in my point of view, disrupt the parking and parking lot and the business community for probably a year to a year and a half, affect business negatively during that time period, and not provide us with really a lot of net spaces. And the point I made before when I was up here, maybe a month or so ago, was that I had heard of other plans for redesigning the parking lot that were far less expensive. It would incorporate a one-way change for White Street, and instead of having parallel parking on White Street, would have perpendicular parking. I did get a copy of that plan emailed to me by Jerry Larson. I looked at it, it was quite nice. It definitely increases the parking in that area, probably 150 spaces, maybe more. And that would be at a very low cost compared to the parking garage, which is not only going to increase spaces, but it's going to use a lot of spaces. And then the other problem I have with it is, while I was at the planning board, there was an application for an expansion development, which was not at all objectionable, but it did require additional parking spaces and would be using additional parking spaces for the expansion. And yet there was no requirement for them to do anything in terms of providing those parking spaces, which to me seems, again, a little bit foolish, because what's going to happen after we have this garage built is we're going to have expensive parking. We will chase people out of the business area during the time of the redevelopment, the construction, and all that stuff, because people are going to be maybe put out by the fact that they can't park in the White Street lot and that it's disrupted. And whether or not they're going to come back is a question, but if they do come back, they're going to find that they're going to go in the garage and spend a lot of money for parking, which is not to the benefit. I mean, you've heard Jay Herman and other people come up here and say, don't raise the parking costs. Well, the parking garage is definitely going to do that. And I don't see where this is going to, you're shaking your head. It's not going to be more expensive to park in a parking garage than it is to park in the White Street lot now, Mr. West?
I'll wait till you finish and I can address a few of the points that you asked.
But the other thing that bothers me is, as soon as this is done, what is going to stop all the adjacent properties from going up, building larger and more square foot, expanding, utilizing those spaces, and hurting all the businesses that think that they're going to benefit from this? And we're going to be right back in the same position. Plus, we will have lost all that open space aspect of White Street. The concept of doing the Oyster Fest there, that's going to be done. You know, we're not going to be, no one's going to have an Oyster Fest in a parking garage. I don't see it happening. But it seems like we have really been left out of the process. We have something proposed that is inappropriate, and we are redeveloping an open space area that, we like going to the soccer field or someplace that's open space, it's area that's being underdeveloped. Let's declare it an area in need of redevelopment and give some developer a whole lot of rights. The town can't get it back, and we don't even know who's going to own it, how much, who's going to pay taxes, how much it's going to be. The town doesn't have it anymore. I think the whole thing is in need of starting from scratch.
Mr.
Boyle.
I'll start if you don't mind. There are, I think you may be thinking that there's more to the plan than there is. The process itself is exactly on scratch. That's what we've done. All we've done so far is to create, with the help of engineers, some specs to give to a developer to put a plan together that we can share with the public. And I think there's a public hearing December 14th.
7 o'clock.
Yeah, so
6:30, I'm sorry.
Thank you. So we put those specs together with the help of an engineer, and then it went to the planning board, which is what you saw Monday. And then the planning board decides, given these specs, do we think that what will be designed will fall in line with what we want for Red Bank in that space? That's all there is so far.
Well, if I could just stop real quick, what the planning board made clear to everybody in the room was they were just going to decide whether or not the plan that was submitted, which is really a plan with a lot of variables,
Right.
but does take up the White Street lot, does not provide for a redesign of the White Street parking lot. That doesn't appear to be on the table. And if it complied with the master plan as a sole issue, they were going to be done and they were shipping it back, maybe with a couple of notes. And that's exactly what happened.
So just a few clarifications there, since I'm also on the planning board. We are going through the redevelopment process, so when you said you wish we'd start at the beginning, that's exactly what we did at the planning board you were at, start at the beginning. There will be a big public hearing December 14th, like we said, for the public to read the development plan over the last, it'll probably be a month by that time, to digest it, to go through it, to talk to neighbors, friends, businesses, colleagues, whoever, to bring back those suggestions to the council. Under the redevelopment process, and Gene can correct me if I'm wrong, is that's all the duty of the planning board was that night, is to see whether or not that redevelopment plan met to conform with the master plan. If this council, after the public hearing, decides we want to adopt that redevelopment plan, then we would go out to an RFP. When you say all of a garage is being built, we don't know that a garage is being built because we're going to see what the market bears. If this council wants to issue an RFP or an RFQ, and we get back all the proposals, we don't like any of them, guess what? We throw them all out. That's exactly what happened at Marine Park. We had 3 proposals, the council didn't like them, and they threw them out. So for you, I think it's a little premature to say that we are building something or we are doing something. What the borough is doing is expanding its toolbox. If we don't like what happens with this redevelopment process, we absolutely do not have to do that. But I think it's something that we should explore because it's another avenue that we can try to go down to make sure that the public does not have to pay for a single parking expansion. And if we don't get the better end of the deal as a borough, we will not go down that road. But it is reckless not to at least attempt it. And so Lynn said specs. I would just, instead of saying specs, I'd say it's a narrative. It's just a story. There's minimums, there's maximums, it's just parameters of what we think should go there. That's all. And if it's so horrible, no developer would request it. If they don't request it, then there is no bids and there is no public-private process. So this is the beginning. That's all I'd urge. Please come to the public hearing, have all your comments, and again, if we do like an application or RFP, then it 100% has to go in front of the planning board. So to say that it just went from the planning board back to the council is incorrect because it 100% has to go to the planning board for site application. So the planning board will get it again, so it's at the council, it'll go back to the planning board, and then back to the council.
Mr. Whalen, if I could really quickly address one of the things he said.
Real quick.
The most significant aspect that was brought up immediately, and I disagree with what you're saying,
It's fine.
was that it was going to require a minimum 550 parking space garage. If you're telling me that a 550 parking space garage is not a parking garage, I have to wonder what it is. Okay, and then it was limited to 8 stories. So to say that we're not even talking about it might not even be a parking garage doesn't really, it doesn't consist of what happened.
These specs is probably a bad word, and a plan is probably a bad word. These are the parameters for that property, that rectangular property, that have been suggested as the parameters by which various developers who have experience in these multi-use, garage plus rateable type projects will design and prepare proposals for consideration by the borough. And that includes the borough, the public, the planning board, etc. There's no plan that shows a garage, red light garage on White Street, here's what we want done, and we want 8 stories in this. The minimum parameters, we want to double the parking that's there, 500 plus spaces. The maximum parameters, you're not going to be higher than 8 stories. They're parameters. Now, once the plan, let me finish. Once the plan, those parameters are established, and the planning board says, okay, that's consistent with the Golden Master Plan to support the business community, parking, whatever, and this goes back 25 years, as you well know, then we can go out to an RFP process and set qualifications for those that are submitting proposals, that you have to have experience doing this, that they're experienced doing a public-private partnership with development on public property or private property, what have you, and that you have to have experience in creating parking as well as creating ratables, which will help support the tax base and reduce the burden on the residential taxpayers because we have so many tax exempts, or we increase the value of the downtown, we increase the value of the business area. So these are parameters. There is no secret plan. There's nothing in the closet. These are just the parameters that the planning board says, yeah, they're consistent with our master plan, and yeah, borough, we agree, you can do your ordinance, and you can do your RFPs, and go forward and start soliciting proposals.
All right, is there anything in...
I'll be brief, because I would be a lot, but just in terms of the process, because I think, we've gone through this before, and I know you're familiar with the statute, but really what happens from here, when it comes back from the planning board, and we're going to have a full hearing on this ordinance, as everybody is talking about the ordinance, it is really a sort of starting point. And when the RFPs come back, the proposals come back, some of those proposals will be in accordance with that plan, some of them may not be. Because typically what happens then is, if one of the plans is good enough, that we think that it's worth just exploring that, then we would designate that proposal, that proposing entity as the redeveloper, and that would be subject to a redeveloper's agreement. And in that agreement, one of the things that we would probably have to do is do a more specific redevelopment plan ordinance, because this one is, that is in fact what we'll probably have. It's very, and then it comes back with all of that specificity, and the redeveloper's agreement and that more specific ordinance combined give you that information. You were saying, we don't know who it was, who's going to own it. We can continue to own it, as you know, it can be done as a lease, it can be done as a sale. There are a lot of different parts to that, but we won't know those things until we get a proposal and we get a redeveloper and we start trying to work something out that is deemed to be desirable. And as was said, not just by the governing body and the planning board, but by the public. All of those steps are public steps. So I know you feel like you haven't had enough input in the process, but you're having that input right now. It's a very lengthy process, and there are lots of opportunities for public comment, and for public comment that says, I think this is a bad idea, we should be doing something different entirely.
Well, I think the best way to approach this would have been to look at some of the alternatives through and with the citizens of Red Bank before we develop those parameters that are going to basically define the plan. And in particular, no one's going to come up with, and the first concept is, why would we go out and have somebody else do this to begin with? Why is it in our interest? The next question is, are you going to be able to, or developers or people with adjacent properties that want to go up 2 and 3 stories and add this and add that and go bigger and use and need more parking spaces, going to be able to go over and say, hey, look, there's a parking garage over there that's got spaces. Let us develop more without putting parking in, and thereby eat up those spaces. And I think to some degree, there has to be a hold on creating more need for parking. At the same time, you're trying to create more parking because the dog's going to be chasing its tail. you're gonna be looking for more parking spaces down the road. We're gonna be going through this thing all over again. The concept a lot of these businesses think is, they're in a situation right now where you're gonna create more parking spaces that their people are gonna be using that are not gonna be used up by other people who are gonna do projects. And I really think that a cost basis factor should have been in this, and looking at the possibility of redesigning the White Street lot before we even created parameters for a minimum 550 space parking garage would have been much more feasible and appropriate, because that's going to be less expensive for people to park there. And if you don't think people are going to shy away from expensive parking and parking garages when it's built, I think you're missing the boat, because people are going to look for some kind of meter parking closer to where they want to go before they go in that garage.
Mr. Murray, you had made reference to your review of the statute, and Gene also made reference to the statute. But could you explain to me what your interpretation of the statute is?
I didn't bring it with me, and it's been a long time since I looked at it.
Nutshell, okay.
I think, as I recall the statute, there are a bunch of categories that would allow you to apply the statute for redevelopment, and none of them appear to fit this. Number one, it's not a decrepit or falling down building. It's not an eyesore that's dangerous to the public. It's not something that's not being used properly. If you could do that with this White Street lot, you could go down to a soccer field and say, hey, that's underdeveloped, it needs to be redeveloped, and start all over again with that. I mean, this just seems like a lot of other people said, like a way of circumventing the zoning board and spot zoning. And it was my belief when I read it, I went down there and said, this just doesn't seem to apply to the White Street lot, let alone the 55 Monmouth, which already has an approval from a long time ago and a new approval. And they just keep acting more. So it's an example. The White Street, the 55, I know it's Front Street, maybe I said Front Street. If 55 is going to put in their own parking garage, then they're not going to affect what's going on in White Street. But if there was another building where they were going to do something like that, and they need 50 parking spaces, and they might go in there and say, we need 50 parking spaces, but you got that in the garage.
Who say no?
Well, you'd hope they would, but they didn't say no to somebody the other day that just needed 7 or 10. And to me, that just is an example of what's going to happen. 7 here, 10 here, 15, 20. Before you know it, you're eating that up. I think I would have really appreciated the board, the council, before they even got into this, looking at a way of redesigning the White Street lot that could be done with minimal disruption, create a lot of spaces, and then maybe apply to other areas in town. And I think it would have been a win for. And then you keep control over the expansion of properties that are going to eat up spaces in Red Bank until what I believe is going to happen, that maybe in 10 years or something, with the autonomous cars, people are not going to be in need of so many parking spaces. And again, I had another architect who brought that up before I even mentioned. He said, parking garages are obsolete. They're not going to be, 10 years from now, they're not going to be used. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Murray. I look forward to your commentary at our public hearing at the council meeting on the 14th of December.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Myers. Anybody else from the public? Yes, sir.
Good evening. Victor Crow, Temple Gourmet Chinese Restaurant, 91 Broad Street. First of all, I'd like to ask Mr. Myers to stop speaking up for the businesses. I'm a business owner, and I haven't agreed with anything Mr. Myers has said up here. I personally do not need parking. I don't have a parking issue. However, I know it's best for the town. I have Mr. Herman's lot behind me with Marilyn Lynch and Morgan Stanley, and it's 160 spaces. He was generous enough to offer to anyone in town who wants to come into town and use those lots to shop Red Bank, to dine in Red Bank, wherever it is. So we do need a town, I know that, I'm sorry, we do need a garage, and I know that the garage will help businesses in this town. The other thing is, I was not at the planning meeting on Monday, but I know that there is a public hearing on December 14th, so I guess that answers that question. The other thing is, we need to stop listening to these conspiracy theories. Okay, we need to start listening to, people try to spread false rumors, trying to divide and conquer. We need to really just listen to the facts. Until those facts are presented, those theories are just going to be theories. Okay, we just need to stop, red, bank, green, whatever it is. We need facts, and those facts aren't going to be presented until the public hearing, until we start seeing RFPs, RFQs. There may be a lot of issues that we need to deal with. Okay, but let's not present theories as facts. Okay, thank you. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, sir.
Anyone else? Yes? Rose?
Rosemary Costa, 140 River Road. I'd like to bring something to the attention of the council. I have now twice written Len Carter of the zoning board. And I have asked that they please come over to the parking lot next to me, which is a churchyard. Their hours of operation are supposed to be from 8 to 10. They are not. This has been going on for months now. Apparently, Riverview has become a teaching hospital. Somebody over at the churchyard apparently has some kind of liaison with Riverview. We now have student nurses parking there 5 days a week. Some of them come in 11 minutes after 7. Some of them stay until after 8 o'clock at night. There's traffic all day long through that parking lot. There are beepers going off all the time from the cars being locked, car doors being slammed. Goodbye, have a good evening, da-da-da-da-da. Jibber-jabbering. Windows open during the summer. Really, really annoying. It's still going on. My concern at this point is that Len Carter has not responded to me in writing. I have requested it twice. I've given him deadlines. I've been ignored. This is supposed to be, and forgive me for a moment because I had anesthesia twice and memory goes a little bit sometimes, so forgive me. I knew it before I got up. It's just one of those moments. But it's a change of use is what it is.
And I've heard a lot of complaints from the other side of the church. The gentleman that lives on the corner.
Oh, he's moved since.
Pardon me?
He has moved since.
No.
Oh, on the other side,
On the
where they
other
turn
side.
around. Okay, yeah, I know who you mean.
They have huge complaints about that church.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot going on that church that I really think that we have to look into.
That place is a 3-ring circus.
That's what I've heard.
It goes on morning, afternoon, at night, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
They have no consideration for anybody. They will be out there at 6:30 in the morning dropping metal pipes. They have ripped out staircases as late as 1:30 in the morning. They just don't care. I have been at zoning board meetings where they say they are told to come back with different plans, and they come back and they say, but that's what we want, and that's what they do, as they please. This is clearly a change of use, and it's unacceptable. My mother's 94. She has had serious, serious health problems, and I am tired of her being interfered with.
So you feel it's a change of use from a church to a what?
Why is Riverview using that for their students, for their student nurses? They want to expand it into a teaching hospital. I thank the 2 previous gentlemen for pointing out that there is a real serious parking problem in Red Bank that is not addressed. This hospital is spreading out more and more in the wrong direction. They're bringing now in a teaching hospital. They need to not go out into the general residential areas. They need to find parking within their own concerns for these students. It is unfair. They have been disrupting for over a year now. They're finishing up, but they have disrupted everybody in that area for parking. And I want a written response from the zoning department. None of this send a police officer over to tell me that they have permission to do it now. Because I'm going to be going forward with this, and I just want the council to be aware. This is grossly unfair, it is improper, and the town needs to be aware that they can't just do whatever they feel like they do with no time and thing to it. This is going to go on for perpetuity, because when you give this church an inch, they take a mile. This is going to be for the duration, because this zoning department will not give you a written response. I asked for this, I have not received it, and it has been months. And I do guarantee you, gentlemen and ladies, that this will go to my legal counsel, because this is absurd.
Well, I'm going to talk to Glenn Carter tomorrow regarding this.
I want it in writing. I
Yeah,
would very much
I would
like it
tell
in
him,
writing,
and
because my
we'll
counsel
also
will
talk
too.
to Code and see what they can
I
say
have been
about it.
through code, I have gotten the runaround from code. I
Who'd you
have gotten
speak to on Code?
I would speak to 3 different people, and the last one, I don't want, as president of this council, I don't want to embarrass anybody, but I got the most asinine response that I have ever heard. It was absolutely insulting.
Will you tell me after the meeting?
Perhaps,
Okay.
because there are 3 individuals that I have now spoken to. I am not happy. I wrote it back and I told them, don't even try this on me. It's insulting.
Thanks, Rose. I think,
And that's the end of that.
Council President Burnham will address that with you.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, because I've heard a lot about this church, and while I think every church is great, it reaches out to the neighborhood, but it starts to take advantage, we've got a problem.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Costa. Stephen? I know I forgot to pay you for my sandwich the other day.
That's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for.
What are you going to get me?
Yeah, with interest, right?
And chips, oh my God.
Good evening, Stephen Catania, 14 Monmouth Street, the Cheese Cave. I had the pleasure of attending the planning board meeting on Monday evening and was able to listen to all the dialogue regarding the White Street development plan. And I thought there was some very good points brought up. And I think it's important that business owners recognize, residents recognize that this is an unstructured plan at this point in time. But we're all welcoming the process that will define what is in the best interest of the Red Bank community. And that includes the business owners as well as the residents. I am a tenant of Mr. Meyer, but does not mean that my thoughts and wishes for the parking issue in Red Bank are represented by him. We have different expectations, different needs, different demands, I can speak on my own behalf of what I think the business community needs, and more in particular what my business needs when it comes to parking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Mr. Bowers?
My name's John Bowers, 866 Route 34, Colts Neck. I wasn't going to say anything, but the last 3 people here all said the same thing. There's a parking problem in Red Bank. 130 cars, as Mr. Meyer suggested, by redesigning the lot is a drop in the bucket that isn't going to get it done. I've been involved in the SID 1992 as president, and at that time there were studies after studies were short 1,200 cars all day long. So let's try as hard as we can to address the real problem, and if we address that problem, the taxes for the residents will go down because the income and the volumes of business in the borough, in the business area, will do better. So thank you very much.
Thanks, John.
Anyone else from the public? We'll close the public session.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And adjournment. Thank you.
So moved.
Motion,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all for coming.